Okay, everyone, we'll get started in just a minute, letting people roll in. Okay, I'll start my spiel. So I see a lot of people have gotten in already. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming today. If you want to go ahead and present those slides, Justin. There we go. Okay, hi, everyone. My name is Aino Rockman, if you don't know already. I'm the marketing coordinator at Kendis. And today on the call, we also have Justin Oki, who is in charge of sales and partnerships, and he will be presenting in just a minute. And then we're also joined by members of the Kendis support team, as usual, who will be answering questions virtually for all of you. And I'll explain how that works in just a second. Today, we are talking about Scrum Master Activities in Kendis. So we know that different roles will use our tools in different ways. So this clinic is just geared towards Scrum Masters, and we're planning to have more clinics for different roles coming soon. So we're excited to have all of you. Let's see. My main thing I want to talk to you about today before I hand it off to Justin is that we will be providing you with a checklist document today. As you can see on the screen, and this will be it'll be, as I said, a checklist for everything that Scrum Masters need to do during the PI. This is a must-have for Scrum Masters, so we want you to download it, share it within your organization, and we will share that, and it'll be downloadable like through the webinar today, and then you can also access it by emailing media@kendis.io, and we'll send you a copy. And then that QR code right there, it's just going to draft an email immediately for you to just press send if you want to also do that, just so you get the copy in your email as well. And if you're watching this later, you can go ahead and scan that QR. So yes, other things I want to mention: the recording of this session will be available afterwards on our website. Right here, you can see where you press events on the top of the website, and then it'll take you to the events page where you can see our future webinars and also the recordings of past webinars when you scroll down. And this one will be available as well. Speaking of our clinics, webinars, events, our next clinic is going to be in January, and you can register here through this QR code, and we'll also send the link for registration in the follow-up emails for this clinic today. And we will be, for that clinic, it's going to be a revealing of our short-term roadmap for those of you who are curious. So that's pretty exciting. We haven't done that before, so go ahead and register for that. And that'll be in January. So today's the last clinic of the year for us. Yeah. Lastly, I just have a couple housekeeping things for you. At the end of today, there will be a survey as usual, and you can submit topics that you would like to have us talk about in future clinics. And we do look at those, so go ahead and enter some suggestions. And then I believe there's also a place to submit feedback, general feedback about today's clinic. So we would love to hear what you think. Yeah, and then lastly, I'll just explain how to ask questions today. I do this every time, but I just want to clarify so everyone knows there's two ways to ask questions. So that question box that you see on your screen, that's where the support team is going to be answering questions virtually during the presentation. So you can type at any time and they'll answer questions for you. And then also, I believe at the end of his presentation, Justin will be prompting you to ask questions. And when that happens, if you use that raise hand feature on your screen, then we can see you and unmute you so you can verbally ask him a question directly. So make sure you know where those are so you can access those during the presentation. Yeah, that's all I have for you all today. Now I'm gonna hand it off to Justin.
I think we have a poll. Oh, by the way, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I think we have a poll because we just want to know what kind of experiences people have who are on the call.
Yes.
Do you have I think that is what
Yeah.
it's called. I think, how experienced are you, right?
Yeah. There it is. So go ahead and put some answers in, everyone. You can see them rolling in. I guess I can read out. Yeah, we're doing just expert level. I should be teaching clinics. That's a great option. I see something. We're hiring. No, I'm kidding. We're recruiting all of you. No, and then pretty good. Not to brag. Basic level. Not at all. Don't tell the really strange engineers. Yeah. Okay. Nice. We have a lot of you voting. Thank you for that. I'll go ahead and close it now. Yeah. Share those results. Okay. What do you think?
I love don't tell the RTE, that's so funny. So 50% of basic level, so that's good. That's really good. Thank you very much, guys, for that. I think predominantly is Scrum Masters on the call. And as I know said at the beginning, Kendis is kind of primarily based is a tool for people on the program level, really, and above, because we fully expect all of the teams to be working in their ALM, so their Jiras and Azure DevOps. Those are the day-to-day tools that the team and the Scrum Master are going to be focusing on. But of course, people on the program level need assistance from the Scrum Masters. So they need to sort of, they need everything in place to kind of help them visualize what's going on the program. So that's why we thought we'd go ahead and do this clinic. So clinic specifically geared towards a Scrum Master. And like I know said, there's a checklist as well that you should give all of your Scrum Masters at the end. And yeah, you can give all the Scrum Masters at the end. And we have split it into 3 categories. We could have gone along with the ceremonies, but I don't know. It just looked a little bit messy because people do some ceremonies differently. So these are the categories that we split them into. The pre-planning phase, where you're trying to get everything ready for your PI planning. There'll be activities that would really assist the RTE if the Scrum Masters kind of took hold of it, or at least made sure that it's done if it's not them that are doing it. The PI planning, that's self-explanatory. All of the activities that are needed to be done during the PI planning. And then lastly, the post-planning or the tracking phase, because as we know, Kendis is there for the tracking of the PI as well. And in the checklist, this is just a little snippet of what we've got with, there's lots of, these are just the subtitles, I guess, underneath these categories. And there's like, to-do lists underneath each one of these sections. So that's what the checklist consists of. And of course, I will show you now, live in Kendis, what we mean by those on the checklist. So the first one is pre-planning. There's actually quite a lot to go through with this one. So the first one is pre-planning. Of course, the RTE is the one who's kind of setting everything up, setting up the boards and everything else. But as I mentioned, the help from the Scrum Masters and the product owners would be greatly appreciated. I have already set up this board here. And of course, what we need to do is make sure we've got the features and stories. So of course, the stories are underneath these features. And we've got all of the sprints and the teams set up. So it's usually the RTE that does this, as I say. If you have got features, because we realize that some companies will have separate features per team, so a feature per team, you will need to make sure that you've got your feature visible on the board there. Rather than kind of scrolling and looking through your hundreds of features, what we would suggest is if you've got these features on the left-hand side, you use the filter to have a look for your features. If you use something in, so this example is in Jira, But for those that use Azure DevOps, normally it will be like area path or something like that. That's how you differentiate. You're able to actually filter on that. So if you use feature teams, for example, and you want to see this view, you can see the features that you've got. It's probably luckily more than 2, but you can see the features that you've got for that particular team. And I'll show you the one in Azure DevOps as well. So this is Azure DevOps board. If I go onto the same filter at the top there, and if I select area path, I select which team I want to see, done, update. There, on the left-hand side, I'll have all of the features. So again, this is making sure, normally the product owner does all of these things, but as Scrum Masters, I know that you'll be asked to kind of sort all of these out. So yeah, make sure with the product owner that you've got the features that you need to be on the left-hand side there for all of the teams when they start their planning. Now, we need to also make sure that we've got the team sprints. So those of you that are existing customers, I'm sure as Scrum Masters, you've been asked for the sprints that you're going to be using for your next BI. It might be that some Scrum Masters are asked to set up their team sprints on their own. So I just want to show you how that's done. Here, if we're Team Saturn, what we'll do is we'll go, if I reset this, make sure everything's normal. Team Saturn, we'll go to the board settings here and I'll edit board settings. We'll go to the teams and we're looking for Team Saturn. So this is where we see that it's not synced with Jira in this case. Same with Azure DevOps, by the way. If I go into the settings here, I can sync to Jira. I can select it from whatever project or board if I want to differentiate. On this occasion, we're going to go Project Saturn, Team Saturn, on the Saturn board, and then go to the story. And now it will go back to Jira and it will look for sprints. So again, these are the program sprints or iterations. If you use Jira, you'll know them as sprints. But these are the program sprints. But of course, what we need to do is line up Team Saturn sprints with the program sprints. So this is where Kendis tries to help out to map that out. So if you've already got sprints that are planned in your Azure DevOps or Jira, then that would really greatly help because you just map them with the program sprints here. If the team has not yet created sprints, then you can actually create a new sprint anyway from here. You just select that, and now anything in that iteration will actually, it will be created. It will be a new sprint, sorry, that's just being created from Kendis' side. Okay, let's just put a couple here, and then you save it. Hopefully my Wi-Fi doesn't delay anything. And so that will be done. Go on. There we go. Okay. You can, if you just hover over here, you can actually see that your sprints are mapped. No, this obviously one isn't, but you can see that your sprints are mapped there, and you can actually even see what it's called in your Jira or Azure DevOps. So that's a way to know now that anything within these cells will be mapped back to your ALM, so to your Jira or to your Azure DevOps. Now, also, here's a bit of a cheat. If you are one of those companies where you have one team per feature, or one feature per team, I should say, you can also have a look in our timeline view. So if you go in more and this timeline view, a little bit of a trick. So you'll have all of the features that are on the board. If you go to group by, so this where it says default, you hit this, and then whatever you use to differentiate the teams. Some people use components, some people use a feature team, wherever it may be, you select that, and actually it will divide it like that as well. So you can see if your team, which features that you need to do for the planning. It's actually a lot easier to view it from this view, I think, than the other view. Okay. So that's the team sprints, and that is how we can see the features as well. Another thing that we need to get ready is the team capacity. So this we're just preparing this area. What we're going to do here, if you are going to list the individuals down who are going to be in your team, you can do. I say that because this is the area that you're going to calculate the capacity or velocity for the teams. So what they can actually do in each of the sprints or iterations. So that's what this area is for, to do that calculation. It could be that you already know as a team that everybody does, I don't know, 50 story points per sprint. That's fine, you just put 50 story points per sprint if you want to. Or you could actually see this example here where you can list the individuals down and then automatically they'll be assigned story points. But this is all done anyway during the PI planning. But certainly list the individuals down on your team if this is the way that you're going to calculate their story points. So you can get this area ready. Another thing as well are the virtual room links. So I used to work with a team that had this virtual room link. It wasn't one of the main, it wasn't like a Zoom or Teams or anything. It was something that no one really had heard of and very few people could access. So it wasn't very useful. So just bear in mind that when you're having a virtual room link, it's not just for your team, it will be for other people to contact you. So don't be miserable and stop people from being able to contact you. Make sure that it's a link that everybody can have access to. But again, this may be the RTE that sorts it out, or they may ask you for a room link. So this is where you would put it. Make sure that you've got the room link in here. Also, another little bit of a cheat. It might be that you have got specialists that are just for your team. You're the only team that work with another third party or even another release train or whatever it may be. But if you look here in the planning agenda, you can put obviously the days, that's what it's there for. But on the last one, what we would suggest is that you put all of the people that are there to help, to assist the teams, whether it's specialist roles, architects, whatever it may be, that have a different room link. So if a team needs help, then they can contact those, people in this list here. They can contact them directly and ask for help. So in the planning agenda, just put it in the last tab there, need assistance. And obviously this is the ones for demos, but you can create your own titles there. Okay. Now, also, we have got a whiteboard. If you're going to be using the whiteboard, we call it collab board, by the way. So you can call collab. If you're going to use a whiteboard, or it's just setting it up beforehand, just add a new board, just put the team's name there, ready. This is obviously if you're not using a whiteboard already, or if you're not in a physical location, because obviously you've got a board there. But if you are using Kendis whiteboard, then just set up a whiteboard here, just so the teams can have those discussions during the PI planning. And I think that's really what all the things that the Scrum Master School needs to take care of, in conjunction with the RTE and obviously with the product owner as well. So then there is, of course, the PI planning day. And this is where the Scrum Masters spinning plates, because they're dealing with mainly the teams and obviously using Jira a lot and helping up the RTEs and reporting back to stakeholders and product owners and God knows whatever else. So again, remember, this tool is just designed so that you do the bare minimum possible, but you can still continue to use your ALM, your JIRAs, and as your DevOps. So in your PI planning, you would go, of course, everybody tends to start off with the team capacity. So this is where you'd start filling out the data, you know, of the story points here. So if I use this as an example, and let's say Ellie is going to be away for a week out of the 2-week sprints. If I say done, yeah, so we can just put the story points there, and this will actually be on the program board for the team. So that will be in a team area automatically. So if all of the Scrum Masters do that, it will be in the area, the team area for their particular team. So that's the idea. I'm sure you all know, but the actual team area is here. If you click on the sidebar here, you will go into the team area. So most of the time, most of the discussions are actually had in this particular area. Okay. And what happens is you see that, yeah, I haven't filled up this team. I did it for Team Venus, I think. Yeah, Team Venus, great. But if I'll focus on this one here. And you'll see that you can actually overwrite the capacity, because we didn't want to make that strict that you needed to have all of the individuals listed in a team capacity. So you can actually override it. And like I said, if you know that you can do 50 story points per sprint, then you can just write it manually, no problem at all. Okay. The load is left empty because the load are going to be the features and stories that you drag into this area here. So the idea is, if you need to work on, you find your features that you need to work on, you drag them into whatever sprint that you need to work on them in, and then you create a new story. And then in this case, it will go back to Jira and it will create a new story in Jira. If I click on that hyperlink, I can go straight into Jira and then I can do my magic. So this is where you do all your work with your teams. So where you describe what needs to be done with these this user story, your acceptance criteria, whatever else that you need, testing, etc. But automatically what we've done is we've helped the program, because we've linked it with the Epic, Jira Epic in this case, but the feature that's being worked on, put it in the correct sprint as well. And obviously when we got the story points, we can assign the story points. If there's any changes that happen here, then obviously it comes back into Kendis as well. So there's a bi-directional pool as well. And of course, this is real time. So if you're sharing a board, you'll just see these cards just pop up in the columns. So it's real time and bi-directional as well. If you've got existing stories, they may appear automatically when you set up your sprints. Yeah, thanks. When you set up your sprints. So if they're linked with the features on the left-hand side, the stories in your Jira, they will appear automatically in here. If you've got an existing story for these features, you can drag this out in here and then add an existing story. Add an existing story here. So you just put the story ID. Unfortunately, I don't have any, but you can put the story ID in here, and that'll be fine. And then the story will be linked automatically to this feature and will appear for that team in this sprint. And like I said, if you go back to your user story, this backlog will be empty because I've just created one. But if you just want to create issues here, providing you link them with the right epic, in this case, or feature, then that will appear on the Kendis board. So you can continue to use your ALM, no worries whatsoever. Just make sure that they're linked and we'll see it on the Kendis board. Whatever works for you. And also, we know that when you're dealing with teams, some teams would just rather work on user stories. So you can have that view by this. Click by user story. I've only created one. It's going to be quite miserable looking. But yeah, so you've got by story view here. If you click on that, you can just see everything by user story. By default, we show the feature here that's being worked on in a particular sprint. Okay, so that is the capacity, that is the refinement. You can also, of course, use the collab area for breaking the user stories down and having those discussions that you need if necessary. Then you'll want to create dependencies. Now, I haven't got any other cards on here, but in order to create dependencies, you can either drag from one corner, from your team feature corner, to another corner of a card. And then you'll get this pop-up here. I'll go to a different board in a minute so you can see it, but you'll get this pop-up here. And when you create a dependency, let me go to another board. There we go. Because when you create a dependency, you'll be able to create it in your ALM. In this case, it's Jira. So these are the link types that we have, but of course, in this, we have the Azure DevOps ones as well. So you'll be able to, when you create it, it'll be created automatically as long as it's set up. So make sure your RTE has set it up correctly. They will put the summary. Encourage your teams to put a description down, because I'm sure I don't need to remind you, but sometimes during the conversations and PR planning, we kind of get excited and we learn that there's a dependency, but we actually don't know what the dependency is. So this is an area where people can actually put the description of what the dependency is. You can have a status. This we have waiting for acceptance, because sometimes teams weren't talking to each other and they were just putting dependencies on another team. I'm sure it doesn't happen in your organization, but just in case, I would encourage people to actually talk to the teams that you're going to put dependencies on, not just put dependencies on them. Also, another thing, when you do have a dependency, for traceability, my mouse, for traceability, it's much better to actually have dependency on the story that needs to be done, as opposed to dependency on the feature. Because when it comes to the tracking, you can actually, when that user story is mapped as done, you can have it that the dependency is marked as resolved as well. But of course, if you just link it with a feature, you have to wait for that feature to be resolved or to be done for that dependency to be resolved. So I would try and find out the user story that that team is doing and link your dependency to that particular user story rather than just a feature. Otherwise, you have to just wait for that feature, as I said. Okay, all your dependencies will come into one location and they'll be split up by team. So yeah, let me enlarge this. They'll be split by team here. You can filter on, for example, if you've got like a waiting for acceptance one, you can filter on those, especially useful during your draft reviews and all of those. You can at least see the ones that you haven't accepted. And of course, if a team talks to you about these dependencies and you accept it, then don't forget to change the status of the dependencies. You can just click on here and then you can do it from here. Change the status. Okay. So those are the dependencies there. We also have objectives. So during your PR planning, you can obviously create your team objectives here. You can have uncommitted objectives as well, just by clicking on here and yeah, just writing what the objectives are. If it makes sense, you can link your stories or features to each one of these objectives. So I have this as an objective, and I've got 4 features attached to it. If I go to these 3 dots here, I can link an item and I can link another one. And if I wanted to, it could have been a user story as well. Ooh. Thank you. It could have been a user story as well. So you just link it there, and that would be it. Is obviously we help tracking, because in the tracking stage we'll focus on the progress of the user story. So when the user stories are updated, then of course we'll be able to provide you with the progress of that. When we talk about risks in SAFe, predominantly we talk about roaming the risks, but we have a risk register here. If you did just want to write, we've got a risk here, and then we want to say that it's resolved or owned, accepted, mitigated, or the roaming type statuses, then you can. We don't stop you from doing that. But you can also write a program risk, and you would have the probability and impact. I think that will probably be done by the management or in a management review, but just be aware that it's there anyway. Write out what the description is, any mitigating actions that you discuss, and make sure as Scrum Masters that you put your team being impacted and which sprints are impacted by it as well. If you've got user stories or features that are going to be impacted, then you can add them on here. If you've got something like a Confluence page or some other kind of source, you can add that also here and have conversations on here. Okay. For the PI planning as well, we have analytics. So things like if you need to see, let's close some of this. So previous load, let's just have a look at this. So we would have to, this is where you would see all of the teams if you wanted to in one view, and if you just want to see the capacity and load for all of the teams, then you can visualize that for all of the teams. You just open them up and scroll down for all of them, just to see the capacity and load. It's easier than just having to go through it all in your Jiras or even on this board. So as Scrum Masters, then you will get, when everybody's kind of doing their breakout, you'll be asked to kind of meet every now and again, and let the program or RTE know how everything is going. And that's the planning SOS for us, the planning Scrum and Scrums. So what you do here, these questions are usually set by the RTE or product management, and you would you'd come into this area and you would answer all of these questions in relation to your teams. If anything is blocked, then of course you highlight it and we'll show it to the RTE, we'll make it visible. It may be that you want to have a call because, I don't know, everything is remote, or you have blocked issues that you need to discuss, then you can have a room link in here as well. You click on the room link and then jump on the call and have that discussion. So that's what the planning SOS. Okay. I think that's about it. I'm trying to rattle through everything very quickly. That's about it for the tracking. So then we've got the PR planning. Then we've got the tracking side of things, and I have already mentioned a few things, but this is really important. So of course, before we can do any form of tracking or post-planning, everything needs to be updated in Jira. So you need to make sure that your stories are updated, even though, even features that you've got. If you're a featured team, make sure your features are all updated as well in the correct sprint and with the right statuses as well. And of course, if your webhook is working well, then it will be updated automatically in Kendis. Now, this is where it sort of gets them and us a little bit. For Jira users, automatically what will happen is when you click Start Sprint in your Jira, automatically it will be started in Kendis. So you don't need to worry about it. However, Azure DevOps doesn't have that, unfortunately. So you will manually at the start of each sprint have to say, tell Kendis to start the sprint. So at the start of each sprint, make sure that somebody clicks start sprint. You can either do it for your team or you do it for the whole release train. If you go into your team area, you'll see that you've got these three. Let me make this bigger here so you're not squinting. But you'll see that you've got these 3 dots, and this is where you start your sprint here. You'll also notice what we've got. We've got this compare as your sprint. Now, when teams are using Kendis, because their day-to-day work is in Azure in this case, or Jira, they sometimes create user stories and they don't link it. They forget to link it. It happens. It's no problem at all. But what we can do here is actually compare the Azure sprint and the Kendis sprint. Oh, what's going on? It doesn't want to do it. So you just hit that compare, and what it does is it goes back to your Azure and it will look for user stories that are not in Kendis. So we've got stories that are in Kendis in both Azure and Kendis as features, and then we see that everything is okay here, but then we've got these 3 here that are not. So if I go into it, I can change it. Go into Azure and just change it if I need to. Okay, so it's a really important one as well, actually, just so you haven't got stories that you're working on that are not shown for that PI. So it's those 3 dots in your team area that you'll see, both to start the sprint and also to compare the sprints as well. Okay. More in the post planning as well are these dependencies. So as I said, if you link dependencies with stories, you can have it that when a story is done, then that dependency will also be shown as resolved automatically. So that's why it's better to link stories rather than just linking features, because of course then you're just waiting for the whole feature to be completed to see to sort of gauge the dependencies. We've also got, for the tracking side, we've got Scrum of Scrums. If I go into, I'm not going to go into this one here, it's board. If you go into more Scrum of Scrums. So as a Scrum Master, what will happen is you'll get a very nice email, very polite. Where is it? Where is it? It's here. There we go. So you'll be asked to fill out, the highlights, the impediments, the action points, please, prior to the meeting. It will either be half an hour before the meeting or 2 hours before the meeting. If you've already filled it out, then you won't get an email. If you've filled out any other sections, you won't get an email about that. You'll just get the email about the section you haven't been completed. So if you haven't filled out, one section but filled out the others, don't be surprised if you still get an email. Also, if you're not receiving emails, make sure that you are on the list for the Scrum Masters. This automatically picks it up from, I don't know, it's either the program roles or the team capacity area, but it automatically picks it up from there. And then, if you don't see your name, you can just add it there and you'll get notifications. So then you come onto your team area and you can obviously fill out any kind of highlights and announcements. When you create an impediment, people may not know this, but there are actually 2. Oops. Or 2 views, I should say. So Yeah, 2 views. So you saw when I created that, it just allowed me like a text box. But if you go back into it, you'll see there's lots more options. So here you can actually, fill it out properly, what needs to happen, put a description in there. We've got statuses as well for these impediments, which will prove vital for the next things that are coming up in Kendis. But also you can as well put this, if it's a team impediment, that's fine. You can have it, it will automatically be shown as a team impediment, but it may be that it's a program impediment as well. So if you go into this impacted teams area, you can select that it's actually a program impediment as well. And that way it will appear in both the team and the program. Okay. Okay, so, and then of course you fill out your areas, you come onto the Scrum of Scrums. I don't know if you have it weekly, you have it fortnightly, however many times you have it. The idea is that you give an update. We try and show you all of the things that we think you would care about. So open dependencies for the teams, any objectives, any risks that you've highlighted that need to be completed by this sprint, and so on. So we've given that information there. Okay. And yeah, as I mentioned, there's a couple of other things, but I'm looking at the time there. Don't want to use it all up, but we've got things like the risks as well, that you need to sort of fill out in post planning, and also we've got the inspect and adapt, which is going to be redone. But at least this is, as a Scrum Master, you'd obviously be interested in the output of this. Certainly, what objectives your teams are bringing in, doing all of that sort of calculation, and of course, all of the performance measurements as well. One thing that I didn't mention during your PI planning is our confidence vote. But I didn't mention this because really as a Scrum Master, I think you're just kind of reading out the results. You don't necessarily vote. You may have the URL and send it to your users, to your team members, and then they will vote accordingly. So they will vote obviously for their PI or for the team, whatever has been arranged. And you may, as a Scrum Master, have to read out the results during the PI planning, depending. Okay, I'm going to open it up for questions and have a swig of my tea. Take a break from talking. I know, are you still with me?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, if anyone has a question they want to ask, go ahead and use that raise hand feature, and I can unmute you. We've been getting a lot of questions virtually, so
good.
Maybe no one wants to ask.
Still talking? Why is he talking so much questions?
Yeah, that's what they're hiding.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, John, I think John wants to ask a question. Here we go.
Okay.
Unmute you. Go ahead, John.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. Yeah, there's a number of things that that we'd like to do and that would require some changes. For example, on the planning Scrum of Scrums, we use a different set of questions that we run through. And every time we get to a new board, I have to recreate all those questions from scratch again. So one thing would be nice to copy the contents of those questions from a previous board.
I can tell you, John. John, this is John Green, right? John.
Correct. Yes. Hi.
Hey, John. How you doing? Nice to meet you. That's actually in the pipeline, John. It's coming very soon. It's as in a matter of weeks.
Okay,
that is coming. I know exactly what you mean, and we have the same. It is annoying.
Okay, yeah. And there was another one regarding the other Scrum, the regular Scrum or Scrums meetings. What we have is a set of questions there that are common for every Scrum Master to answer. Things like, what has your team done since we last met that could affect another team? What impacts do you see coming from another team? All those kind of common questions. but there isn't a space to put in a section to say every Scrum Master go through the answers to these and then go through the detailed content of the Scrum of Scrums. That would be helpful. Sorry, not a question.
Okay. No, 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 that's okay. Let me take that back to the product team. Hopefully
Okay.
they're listening anyway. But yeah, let me see if there's anything that we can do on that one. As you know, this is the first Scrum of Scrums that's been brought out, so we just sort of rolled it out there and seeing how people are using it. So that's interesting feedback, John. Let me we'll take that one back and get back to you personally if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, fine. I got one more, just real quick. On the objective side, we have, again, it's a number of things that we require every team to do. So one example is that the teams have got to identify which objectives are going to be demonstrated at the end in the inspect and adapt. Now, it would be nice if we could have like a text field somewhere in here, or even a definable field to say, so that we could put in a number of things. So this objective, it is required to be demoed. It is safe content type planned. It is, it's an type of implementation is an acceleration, business accelerator.
Sure.
So we got that kind of thing. We put it in the title right now, and it's just messy.
It's crap. Ooh, yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, that's also being done. I sound like a broken record, but that is. I don't know if you've spoken to anyone from our support team, but that's also in the pipeline.
Okay, great. That's great.
Yeah, doing things with the objectives, absolutely.
Yeah, that's all I had.
In a new one as well, in a near future, not one of these is coming.
Yeah.
All right.
Good. No, thank you for that.
No worries. Good to speak to you, John.
You too. Thanks.
Anyone else at all? I know. Any other questions?
I'm not seeing any. If anyone wants to raise hand feature, ask a question. I'm not seeing any. Maybe our support team was just super on it today and answered everyone.
No, I think I was just so detailed. Why are you giving the support team praise? Why not me?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was you.
Thanks.
Sorry. Yeah, not seeing any. I suppose I can upload that document now, and if anyone wants to raise their hand, I'll see it. But yeah, let me get that in here.
So as I know mentioned, that document is it really is just a loose checklist, and we'll be adding to it as well, because of course, as you know, as you can hear as well from what I was just saying to John, it's we're forever growing Kendis, seeing how people use it and developing it to to how we think it should be used. So it's whilst it's a checklist at the moment, it will likely change very soon. I see there's another raised hand.
Yes, I will unmute Siphon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but yeah, you can go ahead and unmute. Yeah.
Hi. Actually, I wanted to know whether you'll be sharing the recording.
Yes, we will. It will be available on our website after today. On that events page that I showed in the beginning. Yeah, so that you can share that link. It'll also be on our YouTube, but yeah, it'll be on our website, so you can rewatch.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I have that document should be uploaded, so hopefully you all can download that. If you have any problems, send it in the chat. Let me know. But yeah, you can also
email address,
media@kendis.io, and we can send you a copy there, or you can also have, maybe if you want teammates or something, to email and get a copy. I guess you could also just send them the PDF. So either way works. Oh, I think we have another question. John, here we go. John's back.
I'm back. Yeah, I thought I got the opportunity because I allowed other people the chance and they're not jumping in, so I go for it.
So you snooze, you lose.
Exactly. So what do you think is the best method for any suggestions or customer requests for functionality? how would you like to see that done? If we've got ideas or things that we would like to see, what's the best route for funneling that information to you?
Yeah, so either go to support at kendis.io.
Okay.
That's where everybody sort of picks it up.
Okay.
We get quite a lot abuse
Cool.
as well, but also quite a lot of requests. So yeah, just put it in there. And John, yeah, contact me directly anyway. So
sure. Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
no worries.
That was it.
Take care, John.
Thanks.
I know. I think we're good, right?
I think so. Yeah. Seems good. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining. It sounds a bit weird to say happy holidays so early on, but yeah, have a good break or holiday or whatever it is that you're doing, and we'll be back next year. So we'll speak to you then.
Yes. Okay.
Take care. Thank you, Ino.
Yes. Bye, everyone.